the first one, Samira? Okay, perfect.
Maybe.
Oh, it was the second one, okay. Sorry, a few technical difficulties. Everybody's used to those.
And we are now live. Not sure who we're with.
Replay. I think we've got a double going.
I think so too. Everyone.
I would leave that one, and is the other one closed off?
Just move.
Yeah, I would
I
close
was
that.
that one. Just exit up in the corner.
Yeah, the whole thing.
And then we should be good. And I think we are.
Awesome, thank you, Samir.
Well, welcome, everybody. Hope you had a great summer. Welcome back to our first meeting in the fall. It's nice to see everybody again. As is our custom, let's go around the table just so that everyone is aware of who everyone else is. Carol, can we start with you?
Carol Magnan, committee member.
And go to Wayne.
Wayne Schaffenberg, committee member.
Diane Gerhart, committee member.
Carrie Tuckett, committee member.
Samir Papa, street planning.
My name is Ray Labonte from Thrive Child Development Center.
Derek Laval, chair of the site plan committee and committee member.
Ben Colbert, committee member.
And we do have a special guest with us today, Chrissy. Thank you very much for coming, Chrissy.
Thank you very much to be here.
I'm Don McConnell. I'm with the advisory committee as well. And
Diane Morale, accessibility coordinator, city.
let's get started. We do have a fairly lengthy general agenda today. Let's do the minutes for the last meeting. I trust everybody has had a chance to see this. I do know that Diane has updates on a number of these items as part of today's agenda. So if you have any questions, they may be answered. Were there any questions, comments, errors, omissions, things you'd like to add? Can I have a mover and a seconder? Carrie and Diana, thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. And moving right along, we do have a declaration of conflict of interest that we bring to every meeting. And quite simply, you do have a conflict if you or a member of your immediate family has a financial gain to be made by a decision that this committee is going to make today. You need to declare that. Generally, we don't deal with a lot of monetary items, and when we do, they very rarely affect an individual. But I must ask, does anybody have a declaration on any matter on the agenda today? And seeing none, we'll move along. New business, as I said, this is largely the Diane Morel meeting, looking at the agenda this time.
John, can I interrupt you? Do we still have Jordan online? I think we may have lost. Okay. We still have quorum, do we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, we still have quorum. I'm sure if Jordan can rejoin us, he will.
I'm sure he will, because he had sent us a note just before the meeting started that he was going to be a bit late. So that's fine. Hopefully he'll join us soon. So can I turn this over to you? You have that section on accessibility site visits.
Sure, thank you. So I think at previous meetings, we had talked, or I had talked about doing site visits with city facilities and parks to assess for various different barriers that still exist there, or maybe new ones that popped up. It's been a long, long time, I think almost 20 years, right, Craig, since we've had a full assessment. So it's time to take another look at our facilities and what barriers have popped up or still exist from way back. Originally I called it an audit, but that makes it sound so nasty. So I'm calling it a site visit or a site assessment. I've done some of them with Carol, I've done some with Derek. Most of them I've done on my own. Some I did with the parent of a child with a disability as well. Trying to get as many perspectives as possible. I've got quite a bit done, but there's still quite a bit left to do. I'm putting it into one document and it'll be fully accessible with the table of contents by facility or park. And then also by subheadings, you know, bathrooms or entrance or paths of travel or parking or whatever categories are appropriate for the space. It will be a living document. It will be something that can be added to at any time. So please, if you run into anything in the community, let me know. And I can add it to the document. So I just wanted to give you an update on that, to let you know that's being worked on, and that will be closely linked to our plan, which I will talk about a little bit later in the agenda. Any questions? Okay.
Great.
Chairman, through you to Diane. Now that applies to city-owned and leased facilities, correct?
100%.
I know there are other barriers we run into, but they're not within our direct purview. We can make recommendations, we can lobby, we can, this committee is famous for doing both of those things, but we have statutory influence on municipal properties.
Yeah, and thank you for that clarification, especially for our folks at home. Yes, it has to do with city-owned and operated facilities and parks. Yes, it does.
We would love broader mandate, but that's going back through the years. There have been occasions where we tried to stretch that a little bit and find against it strong.
Yes,
That was a different administration, but we still have to stay in our lane, as they say.
exactly. Thank you, Craig.
No other comments or questions, moving along then. Let's talk about alternative space for our meetings, which is very timely given the fact that we've just discovered that our audiovisual systems don't work as well as we would have hoped. Well, actually, we didn't just discover, we've known this for some time. Do you have any comments on this that you could enlighten us with?
Yes, so I guess our folks at home wouldn't be able to see this, but we do have, we're trying another microphone camera system in hopes of improving the sound. We can hear fine here in this room, but it's been that our folks at home, our folks through the recording cannot hear voices very well. Some come out very clear. My voice comes out very clear. Others not so much. It becomes very garbled and really not accessible and not accessible to the general public, let alone to anyone that may have a disability. So we tried another camera in hopes of getting some clarity of sound. We'll see today how that works. An earlier test just yesterday didn't work very well. The sound in here is very echoey. Another challenge that we have with the space here is right now we're missing some committee members that weren't able to attend or maybe are going to attend late. But the space is a little bit tight. It's a little bit close. So I'm wondering about exploring the use of the Northern Community Center. They have a room called the Steelton Room, which is larger. And I believe I understand they've got an audio visual system so that we'd be able to do our live stream and recording with Zoom. We can give that a try this fall on our regular meeting date, but starting in January, if we decide that we like that space and we'd like to try to move forward with that, The problem is it's not available on our meeting date and time. So it's not available on the second Wednesday of the month. The alternative would be, one of the alternatives that was offered was a change to the second Tuesdays of the month. I've asked for some alternate options so we can have a consistent schedule. Because I know that's very important for especially our folks that work on a regular basis, to have consistency in the schedule. So I guess at this point, I'd like to open that up for further discussion.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that as well.
I would love to try the space for sure, cause I do like that area, like that space as well. And I think that the more notice, the better. Cause if we wait until December and then say, okay, now we're gonna change it, then it's too late for me. But if we say now, it's this day, and it doesn't matter what day or what time, I can make it, we can make it available as long as we have a few months' notice.
Now that day and time works for me. I gotta be careful with my Wednesdays and Thursdays. Cause I have other meetings I have.
Okay,
I can tell you the Tuesday works for me.
Yeah.
It's actually far better for Wednesday.
okay. Anyone else thoughts? Dre?
Was leave them electronically. Tuesday, is my PSW visit, and it would, and trying to change it is next to impossible.
Yes, I know. Our PSWs are so in such high demand.
That's an item.
Yes,
Not to mention the logistics of talking to an office in Southern Ontario who doesn't entirely know where this is.
that's right.
That's a different stuff.
Okay, excellent. So at this point, other than the Tuesdays for you, Clinton, and there may be some other times. So after that, I just haven't received a response yet. Once I get those possible alternate consistent dates, I'll send an email request out, because I think that is the best communication for our counselors who are not here right now, as well as Jordan will be able to participate. And I think that's all we're missing, right?
I go back to Carrie's point though, because I agree with you. I think we need to go and sit in this room and see if it works for us before we get too far down the line on that. Was the game plan that was our next meeting there?
I believe that next month is available to give that a try, to see what this space is like. Does it work for people? How is the audio visual, system there? Does it work? So we can give that a try, I believe, for the next month. And then after that, perhaps do a poll and we'll see.
I think it's easier if people have to see the space and then decide, yeah, it's going to. And so,
Yeah, as long as.
are you okay with that?
I won't be here at the next meeting, but whatever everybody decides, I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
Take me into consideration when you're making your decision.
We will.
Okay, we're good.
And your comment.
Okay, yes, definitely.
Okay, so we are looking at our next meeting in October, which I think is the 11th.
It's, okay.
And we just leave that all to you to make whatever arrangement we need to make. That's perfect.
Yeah,
Okay. Moving on to old business. And I know that this is the second item, but I have to say this, the job that Diane put together, putting together this list of AAC, accomplishments and bear removal successes over the past 20 years is amazing. And the real benefit to this, I mean, it's a benefit to everybody, right? But we need to show this to them. We need to be able to say to God, like this is what we do, okay, people? And that has great value to it. So I know that took a long time. Thank you very much. I think we should all. That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Craig, for making that suggestion at our June meeting, that it would be nice to see our list of successes all in one place, and it was,
It was a lot of work.
it was a lot, it was a lot of work, but as I went through it, although I've been a member of the committee for a very long time as well, I was surprised how many projects there were that were completed. Even though I had seen most of them done.
But over the years, they get done, they get put aside, and as long as there's not a complaint, concern, or other things crop up. I won't say we forget we did it, but it just becomes part of the norm, which to me is a great symbol of success, which is now normative. Our presence in a room is not abnormal.
That's right.
Because 20 years ago, I can assure you, our presence in a room was considered unusual, not unwelcome, but somewhat unusual.
And I would like to comment later about the list, my observations and stuff, but it'll take me time to say a few things. So I'll wait till the end.
Okay.
I think another value in having that document is, over my years with experience with people who either have acquired a new disability or now have a different perspective because they're looking at things through the lens of somebody with some kind of disability. It's very frustrating. Very, very frustrating. Most of the people in this room know how frustrating it can be. And I think when some of the public look at the accessibility committee and the city and they say, well, we haven't done anything. There's so many barriers out there. What do you mean we've been removing barriers for 20 years? Like there's still so many out there. And that's the value of it, to say, I know there are a lot, and I know we still have a lot more work to do, but look at what we have done, and we're still moving forward.
And there are some statutory limitations, as we discussed earlier, had we had complete, absolute soup to nuts ability to have more than just the art of influence. We had if I was carrying a 12-pound sledgehammer of legislation rather than a small hammer, not an unusable document, but it's not as exhaustive as it could be. There are whole private retailers, non-governmental bodies can still tell us that we not quite get stuff, but we don't have the leverage we do in a public institution situation.
Absolutely.
And we can make public institutions have an obligation, statutory obligation, as long as there's provincial dollars involved. But that's not everyone. There's a whole whack of, I can walk any street in the city and point out a whole whack of things that probably need to be refined. But unless there's public dollars involved in the building, we don't have a leverage point. I'm not saying blackmail point, I'm saying leverage.
Yeah.
There are other jurisdictions that are broader across the river, and there's a whole whack of things that are governed differently if you don't mind suing for. And there are law firms in the US that specialize in that.
Mm-hmm.
And not everyone wants that. That's a different approach to take. And not every individual would appreciate it. But it has moved things along in a more broad spectrum because there's nothing more nervous than private capital than a lawyer. Two words you don't want to hear is the lawyers are at the door and the 60 minutes is on the way.
Derek?
I just wanted to tell you guys that whenever we go to City Hall, I remember it was this time we were in Scouts Oak in Bar River, and we came into council chambers before it got wheelchair accessible. My foster father used to take me out of the car, lift me in the chair, and take me up the steps. Now we don't need steps in the actual chamber. We made that change. We have a little microphone that, so if somebody with a disability can feel free to speak and council. We now have a front door and an elevator that is on the way as well. So I think that we could put in, if that's good this year, if we get to add that. That the city hall wasn't as accessible before, but now it is.
Making huge steps forward.
Yeah,
Site plan committee has a big part to do with that.
yeah,
It does. So that's where we see our comments on city projects, but on private. projects, so that we get-
Don't yet have the camera. True, but
Any other comments?
I'll save one.
Right, I got you down here. Carol.
Yeah, Carla is.
Okay. Did you want to go through some of the other items?
Yeah, I'm not sure, Carol, do you want to address it on that point, on the compilation of the barrier removal success?
Well, it's a barrier that, yeah, maybe, but it'll take me,
Okay,
so I don't want you guys to run out of time.
okay, do you want it like at the end of the meeting, are you thinking, or?
But it'll take me about 5 minutes.
Oh,
So I can do it now, if you want me to.
If you want, yeah,
Okay. I think the committee is just fantastic, and I think we've accomplished many, many things. Sometimes I find it's a little hard to get through to the city to get things done, but I think what we're doing is fantastic. However, the city forgets people with vision loss. We take one step forward, you're putting us back 10 steps. Now, I'm gonna try and be as clear and accessible to everybody, so I have cue cards. Okay, and anybody has questions, you can ask later. So understand my disability, that this is easiest for me because I can't read a piece of paper, right? So my first thing, it has been 30 years, and I say this every September. The beeps on the APSs, we're trying to get them extended 30 years. No follow-up, no nothing. APS beeps. I will put it down here so that you can see that. I expect follow-up on this. I want feedback on this. I want to know why it's not safe for people with vision loss to cross the street. We have to do it within a certain amount of beats. This is Sault Ste. Marie, it's not Toronto, it's not Ottawa. You can't base whatever it is here for Sault Ste. Marie from another city. Base it on what people from Sault Ste. Marie are telling you. We are telling you the amount of beats we need more. Number 2. I did an assessment on all your APSs in Sault Ste. Marie here a few months ago. 75% of the APSs do not work. If the ones that do work are not working properly. And the ones that are working need to be adjusted. Number 1 priority. Why isn't this fixed yet? You're putting our lives, people with vision loss, at risk crossing the street. That's 2. Bear with me. You ask the public about removing lights. The lights at church, Elgin and Dennis. You want our input. People are getting hurt. There's accidents.
Yeah.
We are telling you to leave those lights there. Last week, I took a walk down Queen Street from the medical building. I had to go to Kohler Street. I was too afraid to cross the street at Kohler to cross over Queen. I figured, well, maybe I'll walk to Church Street. I get to Church Street. The buttons on the poles, do you have intentions of listening to the public? I don't know. Because those buttons are seized, and the thousands of dollars that you guys paid to put these buttons on, why did you guys paint over top of it? Are you planning on taking those out or putting them back working? It's cheaper to keep them working than replacing them. See that? You're putting people with vision loss 10 steps back. Crosswalks. Everybody wants a clear path of travel. When you start painting things where we're walking, you're interfering with our clean path of travel. I don't want to be distorted. I don't want to have optical illusions hit me in the eyes when I'm walking. I want a safe, clear path of travel. If something's going to be put on a crosswalk, it should have something to do with guiding us where to walk. I don't care what colors you want to put up. You put them on flags, you put them on banners, you put them on buildings. I don't care if you paint them on the grass. Keep my clear path clear. That's a safety reason. People with vision loss have a hard enough time crossing the street. And now you want to build a roundabout? Are you kidding? How are we supposed to get across the street? Have you thought of that? At that corner, you tear down the old Morgan's clothing building, you can put a turn lane there, but you put a roundabout there? You might as well forget people trying to cross. You got a community center down the street. You're gonna have seniors there. You've got apartment buildings there. Think about the pedestrians. The city consists of pedestrians and it consists of cars. Think about us for a change. Bus on demand. I want to know what's happening with that. Bus on demand puts people with disabilities at risk on the bus, and it also puts the bus drivers at risk. This was a bad mistake for Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. I know one city in Ontario or in Canada is pulling out. I want to know, is it Sault Ste. Marie? We have the right to know. We are telling you it does not work. We want feedback. Parabus. Parabus is great. Took us years to get Parabus. Why can't people with vision loss have door-to-door service? It should not be curb to curb for anybody that catches the Parabus. It should be door-to-door. Think about that. Put yourself in that position. I'm almost done. I gotta go 4 more. Parabuses. How come it's taking so long to get a Parabus? You have 15 in stock. And what is it, maybe 5? You guys keep on the road? Don't you think maybe you should be putting more Parabuses on the road so more people can catch it? Gonna be a lot more people catching Parabus as the years go on. I love our boardwalk. I love our waterfront. There's no paint around the pavilion. I could walk right off into the water. I would like to have some color put at the pavilion so we do not fall in the water. It's been mentioned a few times. I got vision loss, so it takes me a minute to understand my own handwriting here. You're doing great, Carol. Yeah. You're gonna have to tell me what that says, a little too small. Emergency button waterfront. So when they decide to put Clerk Park for safety, I think maybe you guys should consider putting emergency buttons along the waterfront, because now people are being a little bit too nervous to go down the waterfront, and the waterfront's a great place to be.
Can I clarify that? Would you mean by an emergency button on the waterfront, like an alarm type thing?
Where you can, if there's an emergency, you go, you press the button, and it'll contact the police or whatever. Okay. Okay. And I got Adequate customer services. Okay. Adequate customer service training. I don't really see a lot of this being done with the different departments, I guess. And, I think people aren't as educated as they should be for people with disabilities. And our committee works really hard to try and explain things and make things clear to you. And I would like to see more customer training. These guys actually know what it's like. Last one. Second last one. Oh, that one, yeah, sorry. Okay. All these things that I've mentioned, I'd like to get some feedback, and I want follow-up as to when these things will be done. These concerns have been brought to you time after time after time, and it just keeps being pushed aside and nothing is being done. The beeps, 30 years, remember that, 30 years. Is it gonna be 40 years, 50 years? Are you planning on changing them? I walked miles and I worked for hours checking out the APS that aren't even working, and that should not be the responsibility of this committee to repair those. Those have not been maintained. They haven't been maintained in a long time. That should be on you guys. That should not be the committee's responsibility. You put the roads in, you should be putting those APSs in. You should be thinking about people with disabilities. You should be thinking about people with vision loss. I'm done. I hope I get a follow-up.
Carol, thank you very much for the comment. I think, you know, the follow-up question is the key question. All excellent points. And you're right, we've all heard that before. We sat and discussed it at this committees before I was involved, sat and discussed it, I'm sure. But it's the follow-up, and that's what we need to focus on. And that's what Diane and I will focus.
And Carol's right, I'm sorry. Like, okay, we have vision loss, and if they, of course, get the statistics out, and they say, oh, well, it's only this much rather than this. They're not taking into account the seniors that have poor vision that is not registered as sight impaired. So if you go by those statistics, and what is it, like 45% going up to 60%?
Yeah.
Those.
Not everyone is. Perfect.
But
Not
a
everybody
lot of them are going to have macular, and even the ones that are the ones that get them shaved off every so often, those people have to go a long time sometimes before they actually get the operation. How are we supposed to get around? Myself, I don't cross the road. I will not go because I'm terrified of crossing any road in the city.
Fair question. Are there any other comments? I do have a comment. Are there any other comments? Just to let the committee know, and I don't think we sent it out to the committee. You know, Carol made reference to the fact that the traffic lights at Church Street may or may not be there. They're not there, they were there, now they're not there, we're not sure where that's going. But we did send comments, a letter into the powers that be saying, and it started like this, remember the beginning, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, something to the effect that when there's an accident between a vehicle and a pedestrian, the pedestrian always loses. Because I get the feeling that what they're saying is, we can cut down your travel time by 8.5 seconds if we take those lights up. And we don't care. We don't care. That's not the right decision that they're making. Diane, did we send that out to everybody?
I don't think so.
Can you do that? Because especially, you know, if you have an opportunity to help, for instance, talk to the city councilor, you might want to mention that. You know, I mean, I know there are some on council, one in particular, that's like gung ho, we need to get rid of traffic lights, and others that are really not thoughtful. And I think that, you know, we have a really valid point there. And we need to cross it.
And the council probably drive more than they walk. That'd be a fair thing.
Oh, everyone.
Would presume.
Yeah.
I am those, but I don't do the walking that Carol does. Oh, that's my old stuff, and they want to pull the sidewalk, so the tree, that's a discussion for that. But everything there is done. We've got to follow.
Thanks, Carl. I know that took some effort on your part, and that's greatly appreciated. And we will follow. I mean, you nailed it, right on. I mean, that was.
I mean, if you're saying 5, 10 years, okay, but 30 years.
No, even 5, 10 years.
That's not long. Under the table.
You want to be actually part of the capital works plan, which you want to do, and I mean, it should be maintenance. The province has rules that if you have a pothole in your street of greater than, of more than a certain size, it has to be fixed within 48 hours. I'm sure they have something to that effect about traffic signals as well, protecting them.
Well, if they want Ontario to be fully accessible, then they have to be, but they want, right? To be fully accessible by 2025 or so.
I don't think they're gonna make it.
And they're not gonna make it, and people with vision loss, yeah, this committee has done great. And the things that the city did take our recommendations for are fantastic. But people with vision loss, they're forgetting about them. They're putting us behind.
Thanks.
Carol, I'm not apologize, we thought the signals were, I was under the impression the signals were operating. That's on me as well as it's on operating. You would think, I thought they were part of the regular crossing maintenance, I didn't realize they were separate.
Everything, accessibility should be under a basic level of maintenance.
One honestly,
I think they can fall under the radar at times.
and we've had. I mentioned this morning, I was, way watching, we're talking about the changes that came about as a result of the pandemic, and I wonder if things not being routinely checked might fall under that.
I think the pandemic excuse has gone a little bit too far.
Not an excuse, Carol, but things, I wonder if people aren't, they got out of the routine of doing. If you don't do the inspection, how do you know something's not working? You haven't done it for years because something else cropped up.
Well, some of these were put in, I think, in 2016.
Oh, I know there's.
Got a question for you to Diane. That one place that me, you and a friend were at. Did that get fixed? Only one city. Facility where we were at.
Just recently?
Yeah. we
Oh,
were
yeah.
at.
No, it's on a list. It's on a list. You're talking about the actuator?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's on a list. But no, it hasn't been,
That's
changed.
It will repair.
Right, but that was last week, Derek.
2 weeks ago.
Okay, maybe it was 2 weeks ago. So it's still,
It was flagged,
yeah, it's flagged. It's
Okay.
on a list.
didn't realize.
If you want to know where they are, I mean. Just further to Carol's comments here. If a traffic signal didn't work, how long do you think it would take public works to fix it?
So, depending on the order of parts, maybe.
Within a day, within the day.
Okay.
They have all parts to solve.
Okay, we keep the stockpile, I didn't know that. Well, municipalities do.
So. If the acoustic beat doesn't work.
Don't keep
More
the
than
stock.
a
Don't keep the stock.
They should.
Yeah.
If they don't, they should. Anyways, any other comments? Great, go ahead.
Wondering if we know the reason or the rationale for the removal of some of these traffic lights and what other barriers it creates for people with disabilities other than crossing.
I have to be careful what I say because, I don't know, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. But I know there are some people on council, and what happens is somebody goes, how come you don't have traffic light there, we should just get rid of that. And then they call engineering and public works and get a report, as to why we can get rid of this. But they've taken some lights out that I think the general public did not agree with. Alderman Gore was one.
It's very hard.
Andrew Public was one, and the problem is, if they take the lights out at Albert and is it Dennis? That means if you're coming from the west end of town, there are no traffic lights at all until you get to Bridge Street. So they need to rethink this a bit. And I think, I think they're putting convenience of drivers over the safety of pedestrians and cyclists.
Yes, and that's the thing, because there's a lot of pedestrians in that area during the day.
I challenge whatever department that makes that final decision, I challenge them to go for a walk with us. Across these roads. In the same capacity or whatever, I don't know the right word, as us. And then see if it changes your mind.
That final decision.
That and a wheelchair as well, even with wheelchairs and or canes, it's impossible.
But that final decision is a council decision, not a staff decision. I mean, staff no doubt have great influence on these decisions, but that's a council decision. And
Well, let's have a council meeting one day, a walkabout.
filter,
Field trip.
all right. Are we ready to move along, Derek? Go ahead.
And one more comment. I just the other day was crossing over from Northern Avenue. From the metro side to Northern, to get on to Northern Avenue. And this car pulled up right in front of me. And I almost took my feet up because he didn't see me start wheeling. Because we need more time with those lights. So he took off, didn't even see me, and if I wouldn't have stopped,
We wouldn't be having this discussion.
yeah.
Go for it.
Can I move that we be committed at this time just for 10-15 minutes?
Sure, is everybody agreeable to that?
Sure.
Take a 10-minute break? Perfect.
Yeah.
And Jordan, welcome back to our meeting.
Just
Hi,
in time for.
Can you
sorry
hear us
about that,
okay?
I'm meeting I'm late.
Can you hear us okay? Because we are using a different system today than we have in the past.
Yes, no, I can hear everything great.
Okay, perfect. Well, Jordan, you're just back in time for us to take a 10-minute break. We'll see you in 10 minutes.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
back on, that'd be great. Welcome back, Jordan, nice to see you. We're up to on the agenda, we're up to the section on old business. We've had considerable discussion on the list that Diane put together for us of things that we've accomplished over the last 20 years, I think. And let's proceed with that part of the agenda. Has a number components on it. And Diane, can I just turn this over to you to run through those?
Yes, you mean on the barrier removal successes?
Well,
Or,
let's go through the rest of the items.
oh, okay,
Yeah,
certainly.
we kind of bring updates on people. A lot of that was discussed at our last meeting, and these are updates.
Yes. So sled repairs, the accessibility center is responsible for, the upkeep, the maintenance on the sledges. They haven't been used much since, before COVID. But a new group has started using the sledges quite a bit. So, with a great deal of help, with the maintenance staff here, we did an inventory of, sledges and, had sledge repairs done. That was a budget line that's been in our annual budget for a number of years, is maintenance of pool accessibility equipment as well as sledge equipment. So that was done. I think the cost was $2,400 to have all of the sledges repaired. I spoke to the young man yesterday that has this group out, and he was very, very thankful, and he couldn't believe how good the glide was on freshly sharpened sledges. So very happy about that.
Yeah.
The accessibility plan update. So I'm still working on the accessibility plan, and I take a stab at it. It's quite a beast, actually, because it encompasses all of the legislation and all of the pieces of the legislation. So I've kind of got a structure for it, but the more that I delve into this, the more I realize it's going to rely on the accessibility site visits, because that's going to, develop a priority. We'll have to develop a priority rating for barrier removal activities. So it's a plan in works. I hope to have a draft to the committee for next meeting, for feedback. And then I can make whatever changes the committee recommends. And then beyond that, we'll go out for public consultation. I think we'll be holding a public consultation in mid to late October. So that'll be part of the public consultation as well. And then with a little luck, we'll have a new plan going to council in January. So that's the plan. That's the plan with the plan. The accessible kayak dock update. Virginia McLeod and myself had applied for the Inclusive Communities Grant. That grant was not successful. However, the accessible kayak dock repairs are going forward, because the original grant that I applied for was with Trans-Canada Trail. That is one of the waterfront trail sites. So they were happy to support with the 35% project accessibility project update. So with a contribution from Trans-Canada Trail of 6,000 something or other, and then the $5,500 that was committed from barrier removal reserves, we'll be able to do the parking lot. Oh, and let's not forget a financial or a materials and labor in-kind contribution from Public Works to the tune of about $7,500. What we'll do is we will have 2 accessible parking spaces with parking signage and paved path of travel all the way appropriately sloped to the dock, and then the repairs to the dock itself, which will include removal of stuff that exists there, as well as railings on the side. Because right now there is no railing, there's no edge protection, There's nothing to keep someone with vision loss or mobility loss to fall off of the ramp as you go down. So that should be done. The deadline for the Trans Canada Trail is, I think it's the end of November, and I've been assured from Public Works that their portion can be done before then, and the other repairs should be able to be done relatively quickly as well. So that will finally go forward, and we can take that one off of the list.
Just in a nutshell, just so they get the big picture. So we had a grant from the Trans Canada Trails, we put some money in. The Green Communities grant was not successful.
Not the green communities, that one is still to
To
be,
be determined,
it's still to be applied for.
okay, what was the grant? that was-
Inclusive
The
communities.
inclusive communities grant was not successful. Do we know why that wasn't?
We don't know. We don't
Okay.
know that at this point.
Okay. But Public Works is going to chip in $7,500 worth of materials and labor to see that everything's done.
Yes, perfect. So the inclusive communities grant was going to add in additional amenities to the area. So we're gonna put in some a little bit of plantings in the area of the dock. We're going to also have the marina bathrooms, which are very accessible bathrooms, other than the door is too narrow and there are no actuators. The inside has been a beautifully modified bathroom to be fully accessible, but somehow they missed, and I don't know when that was done. But it needed some accessibility updates, so it would have included that. It would have included some parking at the marina as well, some accessible parking. We paved spaces and fine.
Is there a backup plan to that?
There is not at this point.
Because that building was built in early '90s.
Mhm.
I didn't work on it directly, but I worked with the guy who worked on it.
Mhm. Yeah, so as soon, we're always keeping our eyes open for grant opportunities.
And we do have $80,000 a year.
And we do have an 85,000.
It's getting better.
$85,000
Grant.
yeah.
For barrier removals.
Yeah, so we're always keeping our eyes open. The next one coming up, which is another item down here. We can speak about that at the time. So there is a green and inclusive community buildings grant, and we can talk about that in a little
Okay,
bit.
sorry, I didn't mean to take you off list there.
No problem. Sinclair Field site visit. So I don't know, it was in May or maybe February, I forget what month. The committee had agreed to provide funds for an adult change table for the Sinclair Field updates. As they have some really big plans to make the site more accessible, and with the idea of making creating challenger baseball, really inclusive sport for various different children with disabilities. So part of that, we were invited to do a site visit at Sinclair Field to see what exists there, and they can tell us about some of the changes that they have planned. We didn't get around to that over the summer. Can you believe summer's over?
No, I'm refusing to agree with you. Sorry.
I am looking at the week of September 23rd and preferably the 26th or the 27th. I'll send out an email poll again for that to see who would be available during those 2 days. So I can still arrange that, and we'll keep our fingers crossed that we get some good weather, and it'll be nice to be outside and tour outdoor facilities.
That's a Thursday and Friday.
That's a Thursday and Friday. Yes, November 23rd, September 26th or 27th. Yes, you will not be here.
And I'm being sent there and stuff.
Okay. All right. I'll send out the poll, and if people are interested and or available, great. If not, you know, we can take a look at it another time. If others are not available during that time and you want to go see, just let me know. Then down to the adult change table at the plaza. In June, the committee approved $6,000 for the implementation, purchase and implementation of an adult change table at the plaza. I've looked into that over the course of the summer. The space that exists there in the accessible bathroom is a little bit small for a table that sits on the ground, high low. So one that pulls up against the wall will fit, but it means additional funds. I looked into what that would take. We need to get a little bit of electrical work done. There has to be a plug-in installed on that wall. A couple of other things need to be moved. But the price jumps up to $16,000 for a wall mount adult change table. That being said, the quote that I received, when I looked at it a little bit closer, I'm not really happy with the features that were built into it. I just don't think what was on the quote is appropriate for a public use like that. So I'm looking for something just a little bit different. And I haven't got an updated quote on that. So as soon as I get that, I'll come back to the committee. We'll take a look at our barrier removal reserves. Does the committee support that or not? Or, you know, what alternatives exist? So I'll come back to the committee with that, hopefully at the next meeting, more information on that.
And then, yeah, we know what we have to go into and I think when we get involved. To make it bigger or.
No, there's very little space available to knock down a wall and make it larger. Because I don't know if anybody's been to the plaza and seen the bathrooms, it's beautiful, it's lovely, and the bathrooms are quite nice. But they're cinder block walls. And so to move them, and it's probably a load bearing wall. It just, I think it would probably cost a lot more to move a wall somewhere. I don't know where it could be moved, you know.
I don't know, I'm just like. Because we never talked, or did our site plan committee get the specs for that place?
I don't recall that, John.
I think we reviewed like the plaza grounds. I don't know if we ever saw anything there. Nothing's coming back to me that we ever saw anything about the building itself, other than, you know, the big map that says the building's going to be here.
Okay, can we make future note then that, we can look at, because if we're putting it at a hold. Change table next time, we need to know that we're.
And
On the wall,
but you know, Derek, your point is fair. That should have been included in the original contract. That's not something we should be doing with, you know, now 6 months after the thing is built.
No, but the thing is,
You know, you would have picked it up if we had seen it.
yeah,
Yeah, you're right.
so it means that what I'm saying is the city needs to put another change table, and we haven't seen the drawings.
you need to catch it in the design stage, fix the wall and stuff.
It puts us in a tough spot, puts the city in a tough spot. I'm sure they're gonna, you know. Has,
So what it basically asking is, if they need to put an adult to, we want to make sure that we see the specs before they pull all this stuff out.
Move a wall and drawing, a lot easier to move a wall and stuff.
So I think it's probably fair to say then that if I ask the question, how is it next? Then we know what processes need to be in place for it not to be missed in the future.
Yes,
totally.
sorry guys, again, if we took a little bit longer on this, I didn't mean to, but.
No, Eric, good catch.
Yeah,
Easier to catch it than on the AutoCAD drawing and wall.
yeah, absolutely.
That gets a little. But today, when we help with the GFL, or the younger members of the committee, there were changes made on the drawings as we sat there. That won't work. And the architect went, Ms. Frankel, before it's a lot easier to fix it now than 6 months from now. It was right.
Now, I'm wondering if we could go there with somebody and take a look at that bathroom. Now, it's got my curiosity.
You're welcome to go at any time. I think it is open during the day from like 9 till 4 or 5. You're welcome to go at any time and take a look at that, Derek.
Because that's got my curiosity peaked.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, then the next thing is the next grant, the Green and Inclusive Community Buildings Program. So this is one where, when I looked a little closer at the criteria for the grant, it has a fairly large pool of money. It's a federal grant. Because it includes green or environmentally friendly initiatives. And the green part is a must, the inclusive part is a may. So you get extra points if you have inclusive as well as your green. So I've been speaking with Emily Cormier, who is the city sustainability coordinator. We could submit several applications, one per facility. You can't do something at the road, something at the GFL, and something at Mansell Pool. It's one facility per application. So we've decided to focus on the John Roads. And the one item for the John Roads that has been on the list, and I'm pretty sure it's somewhere there in the compilation, is accessible bleachers here at the John Roads. I think it's been there for almost 20 years, if not 20 years.
It's been on there since very rusted.
Well, there you go. Even longer than that.
Yeah, so.
So I've got a draft design that will work. It will need some detail work once, if and when we get funding for this. It's in the area of $37,000. It would be a 20% contribution from the city, 80% funded by the grant. So I did speak with our mover and seconder on this and drafted the motion with Dawn. So our mover is moved by Derek and seconded by Craig.
Yeah, just before we get to that, does anybody have any questions on putting in an application that would create barrier-free seating? The right next door over here,
Actually, on the other side of this wall.
on the other side of that wall, right?
I'm just gonna jump in here quickly, sorry. I did not realize this grant was with the federal government, so I didn't declare pecuniary interest. I am going to leave the meeting and come back in 5 minutes. I can't hear this because I am the reviewer for these grant processes.
Aha, oh yeah, oh, we like you.
That is me. So I'm going to leave this meeting and come back in 5 minutes, okay?
All right, thank
And
you.
our minutes will show that you declared a conflict on this item.
Yeah. So, and just to be clear, I'm also going to declare a conflict with the federal government, so I will not be involved on any sides. So, but I'll be back in 5 minutes so you guys can vote.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jordan.
Bye, guys.
Just jotting that down.
Can you just describe really briefly, because we only have 5 minutes?
Yeah.
How this would happen, like what's gonna happen inside the arena on the other side of that wall?
Okay, so what I'm envisioning, and I've spoken with a builder that builds accessible bleachers for all kinds of different places. So they've got some basic designs. It will be an aluminum type structure. It will be raised, so the platform where say Derek would be sitting would probably be at about this height, so that he'd be able to see over the boards. That would be at the end of the arena. There would be a ramping to go up onto it, It would be a platform, no seating on the platform. When Derek and his companion go to watch a game, Derek would ask for a portable fold-out chair to be available, rather than having benches built in, because that really impedes a turn radius for someone with a mobility device. So I'd prefer to have chairs that could just be moved. So that's what this would look like. It may or may not include heating. I'm trying to work through the budget to see if we've got enough funds to perhaps include the heating. If not, that'll end up being a budget request, capital request next year for facilities, I would think. I can't speak for facilities, I just put those words out there. So that's what that would look like.
Would you have room for more than one person?
Oh, yes, I'm picturing it could hold up to 6 people, with mobility devices. I think at this point, there have only probably ever been 2 people with mobility devices at one time. I anticipate, because it's gonna be a more accessible space, that there might be more people attending. So I'm thinking, 6 different people to be able to fit
And how do people get up to a raised platform?
by a ramp.
By rink? Okay.
Yes,
And then there'd be no changes to the actual rink boards?
no, it would be right up against the rink boards, and not away from the rink board. So it'll actually provide a superior, viewing experience.
And the cost for this one?
37,000, I think.
That doesn't mean like a whole lot.
It's not a lot. It's not a lot. Plus the heating is another 15,000, so I'm not sure if I'm including that.
Okay, but we do have, great.
The benefit of there's a committee, that arena is used by the Sioux Thunderbirds, the Northern Ontario Hockey League, and the city's high school hockey league. It's used as a having attended games there. It is used quite regularly. It is not strictly that was why it was identified all those years ago.
Hold on a second. Jordan, can we have about 3 more minutes?
Oh, for sure, no worries.
Yes, thank you.
Oh dear. I am.
No problems.
That part of it, it's not public information.
That being the case, are we content to go ahead and pass this resolution? We have a mover by Derek and a second by Craig. And can you read the resolution again, Ryan?
Sure. Whereas there is no barrier-free parking, barrier-free seating at the John Rhodes Community Center Arena 2. And whereas the Northern Community Center accessible seating has been well received. Therefore, be it resolved that the AAC recommend a funding application to the Green and Inclusive Communities Grant to install barrier-free seating platform with the municipal 20% share to be taken from the barrier removal reserve.
Any questions or comments on the resolution? All in favor? It's carried. Go.
Apologies, Mr. Chair, I didn't know if people realize that is actually not everyone attends sporting. Not everyone attends sporting.
Good stuff.
Excellent. And for the record, our barrier removal reserves uncommitted is 26,300 at this time.
We're looking good.
So we're in decent shape in this one. Yeah,
Well, there in 5 years,
we have.
which is good. We can look at that in 1 2.
Yeah.
Okay. 2 more for you.
Okay.
Point of Shane's and our youth water wheelchair.
Yes, so Point to Shane, almost everything is done. It was a little bit difficult getting information back on the progress of the project over the summer. That was due in part to Public Works was the contractor who was doing the pavement work and installing everything. And they were running very short staffed. So they were stretched pretty thin. And so getting information back was a little bit difficult over the summer. I understand that everything except for the accessible parking that was supposed to be moved, new parking spaces moved a little closer to, the accessible features, the bathrooms, the change rooms, and the area that was accessible to the water. So the Moby mats were never installed. That, I think everything was almost done by the time I saw it at the end of August. And is it there now?
It was there on the weekend, all the way down to the beach.
Yeah.
It was there.
Oh, amazing. Oh, that's great. We'll have to go and get some pictures. Another success.
So one day, can we go to the charter and take the out there and want to see how?
We could, but I'm afraid our time is running very low and it
No, not this summer, but next.
100%.
Okay,
Yes, yes, we can do that, Derek, for sure.
all right.
As well next year, so we'll be in a position to install those early in the season. Because we've got everything, we're ready to go. We'll also have access to the beach path. So that service will also be available to people with disabilities. It's a little bit more complicated for people with disabilities that have to book a Parabus to get themselves from their home location to either the downtown bus station where the beach bus leaves from, or the northern transfer point at Zoo College. And then they can catch the bus there, and then it'll be the same thing when they return back. So there will be, it's one extra step for people with physical disabilities that use the Parabus. But
It's not gonna be a problem because we just keep the 2 weeks like we should, and so if you wanna go to the beach, whether it's raining, and we can all look at it and just cancel. I think when we talked about problem with that, it's the same thing when we did the bridge walk, we had to book Paris to take us over to terminal for the bridge walk. We did it, so. If you really wanna go to the beach, and you're in a wheelchair, you're gonna keep what's around you.
yeah, agreed.
Yeah, right. I wanted to clarify, because it's funny, we're talking about accessible washrooms, which is amazing, but I find even non-accessible washrooms, not accessible because they're never open. So I'm just kind of wondering, as we're talking about these different washrooms at different places, will the accessible washrooms even be open? Do they have limited hours? Because that's kind of important. If the accessible washroom at Point Shane closes at 5, well, do you want to be there past 5? You know?
I think during the summer, I think it's open as long as the park is open, which I don't know if it's 9 o'clock or if it's 10 o'clock. I don't know.
Okay, that's great.
But I believe that it is all open during the time the park has.
That's great.
That's a really good question.
Because I find their washrooms are closed usually. Maybe I'm in the off season, you know, and I try to use the washroom at Point de Shane and it's locked. So I just thought that means you can only use washrooms or know that they're going to be open during a certain season, whatever that season is, whatever those hours are. And that's a pretty big concern if you're going to consider spending the day to get out there.
And now you're gonna be wondering, because we have our downtown plaza, which has limited hours, and then I don't know about Ballsy Park, that's the other one that comes to mind right away. So can we look into that?
Absolutely.
More things are more than ever. So that becomes a barrier in itself for everybody.
But the thing is, okay, we can, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, go ahead. We can ask them like, hey, we're coming out. We're coming on the beach bus, can you make sure it's open?
I think the issue is the accessible washrooms are open whenever the washrooms are open. The question is, when the washrooms are open?
It's a fair question. I'll confirm that.
Maybe they can post the hours, that's all.
And I think they are posted, but I will double check that and then I'll communicate with the committee on that.
I have a feeling what they do. I have a feeling what they do at Bellevue is that Bellevue Park actually closes at 10. But the washroom is closed like way earlier. I have a feeling that's what they're doing, and that makes sense. But we'll look into that. Good point.
Yeah, it's understood, and folks know what limitation is, but you're right, if you had assumed it'd be open, And this example, like years ago when the Memorial Garden Forum, it always created Memorial Garden converted the closet, except for it worked perfectly fine. But one afternoon, we had a full, the Ontario Lottery Corporation, approved every disability agency in town had representatives at this event. Okay, the staff, not realizing that the disabled people present at the job fair hadn't unlocked the accessory restroom. And the staff person, the key was at City Hall, which caused a even having a rather pointed phone call with them after I came home. Politely, but they understood the concern of the phone call.
We'll look into see what they're doing, where we have minutes for that.
Yeah, that's,
That's fair.
Even the dogs too, right? Is it open or is it only open a certain amount of time? I'm not sure.
At the docks, I think, you know what, and I don't know what the answer with that is, but that's another location I can ask, but. Marina,
Both green.
oh, yeah, Marina times two, okay. Welcome back, George.
Welcome back, Jordan. Yeah, we're all good. All friends here. Does that bring us up to,
water wheelchair.
yes,
Yes, youth water wheelchair, and you know, this is just a testament to how busy the committee has been with projects that have been in the works for quite a while. That's why we have these updates. So the youth water wheelchair, they were all purchased, they were almost ready to go, and then the summer students were finished. And it's a matter of putting the processes in place. And that's where it just didn't get done in time because there were so many projects on the go. It didn't quite get finished. We are in a position though that we will actually have them work next year. It's a process of locking it. Where does it get locked? What time does it get unlocked? Who monitors it? What signage do we have to put up? Who registers for it to get the lock to unlock it? And then the waivers as well, you know, needing to have waivers. So going through all of those processes just took a tremendous amount of time. So we did not get them rolled out this summer, but they will be ready for next year. So that's the update with you, water.
They're in our possession.
They are all three. Yeah, one for each of the splash pads.
Mr. Chair, to Diane, could we not hire somebody to finish off the work that the students?
I think if I may, Dan, I think the issue is like, we're talking 3 different locations. So the way that it works is if they can merge it with Parks regular programming. So they have students working in there. We just need to incorporate the water wheelchairs as part of those students' work. Like for us to go and hire 3 people is, then we have to hire them as well. And how do we do that? It just becomes easier if we can just make it part of the regular city operation.
When we first opened this office, we had some 3 people working in the office. Sort of that model when we first started out. And this office started.
Unfortunately, their funding dried up. As I was one of the people who was employed, I don't mean to intrude, but that's, they still can't find any.
I think the system that Diane's describing, where we're going to incorporate this in with regular Parks program, is the way to go. But you know, let's give it a try and see what happens.
But that's just, if you could put that on
Top of the list.
maybe the back burner, we'll try it. The way we try it, but then if. Then we need.
You need to look at what the options are, for sure.
So that's what I'm saying is. Keep it in the back of your minds. That's an opportunity, but.
Thanks. And that brings us up to the last thing on our agenda, which is the site plan subcommittee's report. There is a report on your agenda. Derek, did you have any comments that you wanted to add to this?
I just wanted to ask anybody if they read it, if they have any questions. Now is the time to ask me a question.
I feel a bit like Carol with this, I gotta tell you, which has, where's the follow-up? Like, it's unfortunate that Peter or Steph weren't here today, because they'd be able to answer those questions. You know, the committee pointed out, like, you can't have steps on the sidewalk going from Pine Street up to the new building, fair comment, right? Did they take them out, are they there? You know, and that's, I feel a little bit. But that's kind of where we should be.
I suggest we hold that,
Yeah.
they accept the report for information, Mr. Chair, but hold those questions till next month. I assume planning staff will be with us at some point.
Well, I think what we'll do is revisit.
Yeah.
Revisit, maybe not those specific questions, but in general, we're making these comments, are we getting any
We
response
need,
back?
we need to know where, we need to know that they result, when you do your, when the committee makes its recommendation, where are they?
Yeah,
It's the,
especially on really basic stuff, and, you know, the committee does a good job, I think, with their comments. Is a question, are we being heard? I suspect we are, but it would be nice to get that confirmed. Is there anything anybody else wants to bring up in our last few minutes here? Because if not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Dree is going to move that we're going to adjourn. Derek, are you okay to second that? Yes, very much. And we will see you on October, what was it?
9.
It's the 9th at the Northern Community Center.
Yeah, unless you're different.
That's either one.
It's a little bit.
Thank you very much, everybody. On the night where?
Northern Community Center, but I will confirm that by email with all committee members. Yes. Thank you, Jordan.
Thanks, Jordan. Take care. If you find any extra money,
Okay, have a great day, everybody.
Thanks.